So now, in closing, we're ending the show with a very special guest. You can hear the melodies of New York City outside. I have the window open. A New York Times best-selling author, Julie Metz. This is her book, Eva and Eve. Julie lives in the Hudson Valley, and yes, she's a client, by the way. Her latest book is Eva and Eve, and it's a true story about her family's survival during World War II. And thank you, Julie, for being here today. Welcome, Julie. There you are, Julie. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much.
So nice to see you. Thank you. So, Julie, you wrote me a lovely letter and then sent me the book. And so let's just start with Eva and Eve, which is an incredible true story. Give us a quick summary of what the book is about.
It's the story. So this is the story of my mother's family. She was born Eva in Vienna in 1928. And then when she came to America with her parents, she became an American citizen in 1947, and she changed her name to Eve. So that's the title, Eva and Eve. It's sort of before and after. And the story is, after my mom died, I made a discovery of a small keepsake book, and this got me started on a very long research project. And I ended up making several trips to Vienna to find information about my family. And most particularly, I was interested in actually how they got out, what the mechanics were, and who the people were who may have helped them. And of course, that brings me to, how we're connected to your company.
Well, during your research, you found a fascinating link between Brown Harris Stevens and your family's escape from Nazi-occupied Vienna. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So while I was researching, one of the tools that I had was that my mother, who saved everything, saved the passports that they had come out on. These were the Third Reich passports. They were very scary things when I was a kid, stamped with swastikas, and I never really looked at them because they were sort of like a force field of evil. But after my mom died, I did open them up, and I found that they presented a kind of timeline that I could use in my research to help me understand when all the things happened, when they got that passport, when they got that visa. And of course, at that time, there were terrible quotas to come into the United States. And I was so curious how and why they even got a visa in the first place. And way in the way back of the passport, on the very last page, it was signed and stamped by somebody named Donald Winchester Brown. And so I was very curious. I contacted the State Department to find out if there was anything I could learn about this man. And one of the things I learned is that he was a descendant of Charles Stelly Brown, who founded the company in 1873. I was so struck listening to this presentation today, just what a long history your company has. And it was a lot of when I did the research about Brown's family, was that they were a long-standing New York family, been here forever. I think the original was descended from Dutch settlers. They were always, it seems, in the real estate business. And in fact, their members of the Brown family continued to be in the real estate business. But what I discovered was that this man was a very young man when he posted to, he was in the Foreign Service and was posted to Vienna in 1938. And you can imagine that whatever he thought, what glamorous job this was going to be, when he got there, of course, he discovered that he was in the middle of a terrible situation where people were truly desperate trying to get out. And what I learned about him is that this was really a young guy, very inexperienced, but he was placed in a situation where he had to make life and death decisions about who was going to get out. And among those people who benefited were my family, but I also heard from another family where Mr. Brown is something of a hero. So because he did the same thing, he really went the extra distance to help them get out. In my case, I feel that maybe one of the things that really connected him to my grandparents, who were really not ideal immigrants. They were older. My mom was too young to be employed. Was that Mr. Brown and my grandfather were both very avid mountain climbers. And this was a great passion of my grandfather. But I mean, many people in Austria loved mountain climbing. You're surrounded by the Alps. It's a beautiful location. So when I found out that Donald Winchester Brown was also a very avid mountain climber, I felt like that was just the moment of discovery for me in understanding what brought these two people together and created some understanding and mutual appreciation. So for me, the story of Donald Brown is really how, small acts of kindness, are create heroes, for us, and that even people who, he was a very complicated man, and no one's perfect, but, he really stepped up at a time of a very dark time of history.
Yeah, I mean, those small acts, even the smallest of acts, change the world. I mean, yes. But for those, who knows what would have been. And it seems like them coming together is what we would call beshert, sort of a meant to be scenario, and quite beautiful. And yes. I loved getting this book and your letter and making the connection. Fast forward to today, 2021, where we are, as a company with almost 3,000 agents in 4 different states, and such a diverse and interesting company with this storied legacy and built on so much. And that sort of differentiates us from every single real estate company in the world. Mm-hmm. Nobody has that history, and it's something that makes me very proud. So thank you for doing that. So where can we find your book? Where, if people are interested and they want to read about this, where could they find it?
Yes, well, I hope people will enjoy the story, but it's also a bigger story about that time of history. You can buy a book on Amazon. You can also buy on bookshop.org if you prefer that. Or I hope you'll support your local stores, and if you have them in your towns. And I look forward to hearing how you all feel about it. And you can also reach me. I have a website, juliemetz.com, and share your feedback.
Yeah, and I would just say to any of our agents that are listening and that do have some interest and want to read this, if you would like this book, please email me or Alberta Sevilla, who's my assistant, that you would like one. I'm happy to get it for you. And so just let me know if you'd like it. I'd love to get you this book to read and see what you think about it. I do want to just quickly read this. This is a quote. This says, with a historian's scrupulous research and a novelist's inventive power, Julie Metz has delivered a gripping and moving account of her mother's narrow escape from the Nazis. It is an indelible story of both what was gained and what was lost in the exodus from Vienna to New York. So that's pretty great. And what are you working on now, Julie? Are you working on something new?
Yes, I am. Yeah. Along the way of researching this book, I came across so many amazing stories of escape and bravery and sort of quiet heroism, but they didn't belong in this book. So I've decided I'm going to continue with others. So, and some of this will be a work of fiction. So I'm at the beginning stages of that manner.
Well, good. Yeah. We know that writing is very hard work, so we admire you. And thank you for putting together such a beautiful story, a true story. And I hope a lot of people are going to read this book. And thank you for coming on today with us and letting some of our agents get to know you and meet you. And hopefully they're going to read your book. And thank you for writing me that letter months ago.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much, Julie. Take care of yourself.
You too.
Bye, Julie.